All right.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody got that coffee to ready to start this morning in this great Facebook Live session with Chief Master Sergeant Weatherspoon. I've known Chief for a long time, since I was, like I said before, Air Baby, and I'm looking forward to this session and to getting your perspective, Chief. So if you don't mind telling everybody a little bit about yourself, Chief.
Well, I am Gloria Weatherspoon, obviously. I'm the mother of 4. We have 3 boys and a girl. Married to a retired Master Sergeant, originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You will know mostly when I get mad, that's when my accent come out, but I make no mistakes. That is where I'm from. That is a part of who I am. That's why I behave the way that I do, and I love it. Let me see, this is base number 8. I'm stationed at Patrick Air Force Base. I'm the senior enlisted advisor of the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute, which is a joint schoolhouse. Originally, I came in 96. I was supply first. The Air Force told me I needed to retrain, so I did. So for the last 13, almost 14, I don't keep count, I've been an equal opportunity specialist, technician, specifically dealing with diversity, inclusion, human relations, inclusive leadership, human-centered leadership, anything that has anything to do with humans, making them better teammates, better leaders, better humans overall. That's where my passion is. And let's see, I'm a daughter, a sister, an auntie, and a friend. I don't know. That's it.
I like it, Chief. Man, hey, that's a lot to take in, but sounds like you've had a very colorful background, and I know everybody across the enterprise that has had the opportunity to interact with you is blessed by your presence. So we thank you for being here today. First thing first, though, what made you join the Air Force? Why the Air Force of all the branches that you could have joined?
So I will tell you, I did not initially have plans to join the Air Force. Didn't know what I was doing out of high school. And so we had a recruiter come to the school, and he mostly talked about things with aviation, being a pilot, all the sexy things that they advertise about the Air Force. And I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And so years later, because I didn't join till I was 20. So I went to college first. That didn't work out. And so I was just working, running around Philly. And one day the bus that I was taking to work took a detour, and it went past a recruiting office. And I was like, I didn't even know this was here. Didn't think nothing about it. Maybe a couple weeks later or whatever, saw the Air Force commercial, the Aim High. So they had, they showed different jobs and different people doing things, and they had the cool music. And I was like, I'm not really doing nothing. But again, push it to the side. Then I saw a recruiter in the mall, and I liked the uniform. She looked sharp. So I was just like, maybe. So I went to the recruiting office, and let me tell you something. So in 96, blonde hair was in. I had a blonde and black streak weave. My nails was all crazy with stuff on there. And I went in and I was like, I think I want to join the Air Force. And the recruiter was like, so some things gonna have to change. And so the truth is, I don't know, right? Like, I believe things happen for a reason. In 3 different instances, as the Air Force was on my mind, I had 3 different run-ins with something that made the Air Force kind of continue to just be in the front of my mind. So I joined because I was curious. I stayed because I realized what I was supposed to do. Like, I was supposed to be a leader. I was supposed to be a part of something bigger than myself. I was supposed to leave a legacy. I was supposed to get out of Philadelphia and do something different. So usually when people ask, why did I join? I don't really have a good defined answer, because I am the only person in my family who voluntarily joined the service. I have uncles who were drafted, they served their time and they rolled out, but the military is not something that my family talked about. So even when I was going to leave, nobody believed me until I left. Nobody. They didn't believe me. And so when my mom took me to the airport, my cousins went to the house to look for me. My mom was like, she's gone. She's gone. And they're like, what do you mean? So nobody believed that I would leave. And they definitely didn't think that I would stay.
It just sounds like even though you didn't think you was going to join, you had a lot of reasons to join. So that's powerful. I think a lot of people sometimes, you got that leap of faith, right? Like, hey, I don't know what I want to do in life. I'm just gonna make it happen. You know, but hey, I wouldn't have left Philadelphia. You know, that's born and raised on the playground where I spend most of my days, you know.
Listen, I had to do something. My mom was real big on, you know, you're not gonna sit around here and just be. What are you going to be? You're not about to just sit here and not do anything. So I give my mom a lot of credit because she pushed me, you know, out of my comfort zone. She pushed me not to be lazy. She pushed me to be an adult and be on my own. And so when I came home and told her I'm gonna join the Air Force, she was like, "Slow down. I wasn't talking about all that."
Right.
But when I did, the first time my mom got on a plane and went anywhere, it was to come see me graduate from basic training. So
I know that feeling. You know, when Mom Duke see you walking down that bomb run, marching, strutting, looking fresh. You know what I'm saying? I know that feeling of excitement. So again, that's powerful, Chief. Powerful. My next question for you, Chief, is what are some of the struggles you've encountered as a woman in a senior leader position? I know there's a lot of issues around women of power and whatnot. So what are some of the struggles you've encountered?
So I will tell you, I'd like to back up just a little bit because I've had challenges throughout, which made me stronger as a leader. I think the first time I was ever introduced to, you know, somebody's mentality that a woman couldn't do something, it was when I was pregnant with my son Jaden. And I was testing for tech sergeant, and I didn't study. I was just like, whatever, I'm pregnant. I'm gonna just focus on that. And so I didn't make it that year because I didn't put in the effort. And I got pregnant with Justin back to back. So they're 13 months apart. And so the supervisor I had at the time was like, man, if you can make tech with one baby, you sure not gonna be able to make it with two. I was like, skirt? Well, all right then. And so it was at that point where I was just like, I'm not gonna focus on what anybody has to say about me, about what I can do, what I can't do, because I know what I'm capable of. So fast forward, some of the challenges I've had as, you know, just being a woman, and some of it, to be honest with you, Mike, I have to push negativity out of my mind a lot. And I have to realize that I cannot make other people's crazy my crazy. I've had instances where I was fired up about something, passionate about something, and it's always surrounding my airmen. If I am responsible for a group of airmen, what you're not going to do is treat them any type of way. I don't care who you are. What you're not going to do is, you know, have them crying because somebody who was senior to them decided that they were going to talk to them like they were trash. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to go into the details, but what I will tell you is when I'm fired up about something and I'm bringing things up and it's for the benefit of my airmen, I've had peers who were in positions of power tell me I'm being too emotional. I need to learn to think rationally. I'm not thinking strategically because I refuse to allow them to put things in place that were going to harm the airmen I was supposed to take care of. And so in my mind, right, I don't have any concrete proof, but in my mind, I wondered, are you using those same terms with, you know, peers that are of your same gender, right? Like I've had male chiefs when I wasn't a chief. You know, I was a first sergeant. I had an incident where it was a chief who had an issue with what shoulder I carried my purse on. What? I'm a first sergeant. I know where I'm supposed to carry my purse, but like he went as far as to go to the command chief to complain about the shoulder I wore my purse on. And so if I wasn't the type of, I am a alpha dog, male, female, whatever. I'm an alpha dog. So if I didn't have that type of personality, I wouldn't have, you know, I think I would have been defeated just a little bit. But I've been told I'm the angry Black woman. I've been told I favor Black females. I've been told all of these things. But the truth is, I know who I am. I know the type of leader that I am. I know that I favor people who work hard. If those people who work hard happen to look like me, okay, fine. But if they don't, they don't. And so anybody who has had the opportunity to work with me knows if you grinding, if you working hard, if you doing what you're supposed to do, I got you all day. And it doesn't matter what you look like. I've had folks tell me, you know, they thought I was making decisions based on the gender of the member that I had power to make the decision on. And so I've had to correct individuals and go back to them and say things like, so what you're telling me is I can't possibly make a leaderly decision because I'm female. And so the response is like, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm like, that is exactly what you're saying. So I challenge people and I ask clarifying questions, because if I didn't, I would get into my own head, and I don't ever want to do that. So I've had those things happen to me, but I never let it define me. I don't let anybody own my narrative as a leader. I don't let them own my narrative as a woman. I am proud of who I am and what I look like. I am proud of those experiences because of who I am that I bring to any situation. And so when people behave that way, I smile and I challenge. Did that even answer your question? I feel like I got preachy.
No, it did. That's powerful though, and you said a lot. And I'm glad you talked about all those talking points and those touch points, because I feel like there's a lot of people that struggle in that battle space that you talked about. People are quick to judge them. People are quick to make them feel like, hey, you're doing too much or you care too much. But at the end of the day, I look at it as servant leadership, right? You're passionate about something, so you're gonna do your best. And it's unfortunate that even in today's world, we have people that will try to knock a race down or a gender down because, hey, like you said, they don't look like us. So no, Chief, that was powerful, and it's motivating to see you push through all that adversity and to be where you're at. So I'm paying attention. I'm watching. I'm your cheerleader. I'm like, hey, Chief, keep going, because when you see people go through stuff like that, it'll let you know it's going to be okay. So I know that's a beacon for a lot of the younger silent leaders that they kind of go through stuff in silence, and they're like, how do I get there? And I have a role model like you leading from the front. That's definitely an important thing to have in our today's Air Force. So yes, you answered that question spot on. Thank you. Our next question. Here. Being that you are from an EO background, Chief, what's the importance of EO? Why is that such a good tool to have in our pocket as leaders, members of the United States Air Force?
Well, one, EO is a type of program that's supposed to keep you honest, keep you focused as a leader, keep your moral compass pointed in the right direction. But we can't use a tool if we don't understand how to use it, right? So EO, the program is not an adversarial program. When I used to be in offices and I would have to go sit down with all leadership teams, and the commanders, the chiefs, the first sergeants, they're like, well, what do you need from me? And now my answer would be, I need you to let me in, because I want to be a part of your unit. I want to be able to freely walk around, maybe get some information about some stuff you don't know, come and sit down with you and say, hey, this is what I heard from multiple airmen. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be in the race, color, gender. You don't always have to utilize EO when all hell breaks loose. Hopefully I have an unofficial manager, so hopefully she don't get mad that I just said hell. When things hit the fan, then you want to call EO. But if we use the program proactively, there are other components to it. Being at the schoolhouse, what I learned is we teach equal opportunity advisors interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. So we deep dive into those things and put into them the importance of understanding why that's important. And so when they walk away, they can explain and they can teach and they can be a part of sharpening those interpersonal and intrapersonal skills in others. And so granted, we are where you go when all else fails. When you're like, this is happening, it is unlawful, I'm going and I'm filing a complaint, those things will happen. But if our program is utilized properly, you will have less of those instances where you have to file a complaint. And so the biggest thing I will always tell folks is let me in, let your EO officers in, let them be your eyes and ears, because the way we when you leave our tech school, the way we think, when we see stuff, there are little things that are in between lines that others may not see. We have that capability and we have that ability. And using the program properly, you will get the benefit of that. And a lot of our folks in the program are young. They're staff sergeants, they're tech sergeants, they're master sergeants, and that's who you would see at the wings. And so sometimes you may look at those individuals and be like, well, what do they know? They got 11 weeks of training that only a few understand, and you will be surprised at the advice they can give you on the human-centered leadership front, the advice they can give you on emotional intelligence and how your level of emotional intelligence impacts who you are as a leader, how you behave. You would be surprised. So I would just say we know what to go to EO for. Where we make the mistake is we don't let them in prior to those things occurring.
Absolutely, Chief. I agree with you. Do you think EO and just the issues amongst the Air Force, a lot of people, do you think the Air Force has evolved to where people do understand EO a lot more? EO hasn't had, actually insert as much as, let's just say, 15 years ago?
No, people still don't know what we do or how to utilize us. And so every chance that I get, I market the program because I truly believe in it and I love it. Like, it's literally my AFSC. I still run into people who like, what? It's the AFSC for that? Yes. This is what the AFSC is. This is the umbrella it's under. We are a retrainee only career field. We don't have pipeline folks. But I don't. I think it's just a matter of, what it used to be, this cribs on MTV. They be like, you think you know, but you have no idea, right? Like you think you know because you got a briefing at some point in your career. We came in and we briefed for 2 minutes at newcomers, or we do your key personnel briefings. But I don't think that everybody actually knows the capability of the 3F4 Airmen. So we may know what the program overarching is about, but I do not believe that everybody knows and completely understands the capability of the 3F4 Airmen. Because if we did, we would be utilizing them a lot differently.
I like it, Chief, and that's a lot of information. Again, even at the senior NCO level, there are things that, we actually went and had a conversation with one of our EO reps here, Mr. White, and he broke it down, same thing you're saying. He's like, hey, we talked about 2 hours, and there was a lot of stuff that, you kind of have a general idea of what EO is about, but he was like, people use us in the wrong entity. They come to us after the wheels done fell off and like fix it, but it's like, no, there's steps. These are the tools that you can use. So, that's good, Chief, because I feel like people have those tools and they don't use them. So definitely, I'm glad you touched on that, and very, very good talking point, Chief. So thank you.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. White. That used to be my office, Mike.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, that's right. Yes.
We were EO Office of the Year for the Air Force too. And just put that out there.
Roger that, Chief. Roger that. Okay, our next question, Chief. I know a lot of people, in their grind to be successful, and I know everybody's path to success is different, but in your thoughts, what's the importance of DSD? I know First Sergeant now is not DSD, that's more of a volunteer, but the other DSDs that are available, what's your thoughts on how it either makes your career or it sets you back depending on what you do within the DSD?
So here's what I would say. My feelings on it, if you're going to do a developmental special duty, hopefully you get the opportunity to pick something that's going to matter to you, right? And you're going to go in there and do the best thing you can. The name says it, developmental special duty. It is designed to stretch you, to make you grow, to make you see things differently, to go have that experience and then come back to your career field a completely different, more experienced leader. And so I think if people want to do it strategically, you look, I'm not mad at somebody who was like, if I step out and get this experience, it'll make me a better leader, it'll help me get promoted. I'm not mad at nobody who wants to promote. Like, let's be clear. I think we put a stigma on people who had a plan. I came in at Airman Basic. In my basic training manual, I found out what a chief was. I said, I want that. There's nothing wrong with that. Now it's how you do it. There's something wrong with it, right? What you do with the influence and authority you may gain from being promoted, is something wrong with that, right? But being promoted and wanting to go after opportunities that you think will get you promoted, nothing is wrong with that. I just want to put that out there, even though that really had nothing to do with the question. So back to DSD, right? It's designed to do what it's supposed to do. First sergeant wasn't a DSD for me. I had to fight for 3 years to become a shirt because I had a first sergeant take care of me when my mother passed away. And I wanted to give that back. So I wanted to be a first sergeant, and I was told it's going to stifle your career. And I say, I don't care. This is what I want to do. And it didn't stifle my career, clearly, because there was a plan for my life that I didn't even know about. I just know I wanted to do this at the moment. And so now sometimes people are getting on the DSD list and they're like, I didn't even know. You know, somebody put my name in. I didn't even know. And so the mindset, it got to be, it is what it is. What can I get that would make me a better leader, a better person, to see the Air Force differently from different lenses during my time in this DSD? So the DSD is a good thing. It's what you do in it that matters, right? And so I think if we go into something and we look at it as, I had this plan, I want it to be this rank by this time, you know, and this is getting in the way, then you're not going to have a good time. So we have to go, okay, this is what I need to do. What does success in this field look like? Maybe my grind has to be different. I have to adjust my sales a little bit. I have to change the trajectory in which, you know, I planned on promoting. But I think you go into anything with a positive mindset, and positive outcomes will follow. Because I share with some folks, my plan once I became older was not to come to the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute. That wasn't my plan. I wanted to be a squadron chief, a group chief, a command chief. That was my plan. Coming to the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute not only helped me grow, it helped me learn a lot about other services, because I was pretty unaware of what the Navy, the Army, the Marines did, the Coast Guard did, and how a lot of those services in their processes might be different, but the foundation of them was the same. I got to meet soldiers and sailors, you know, that I would have never met, who will be friends of mine, who will be a part of my life after the military. And so even though my plan wasn't to come here, I came in here with a positive mindset, and positive outcome, you know, followed. In this area, I've met people who aren't in the military who I love, 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 love. I've got some personal things accomplished that I wanted to do forever. You know, my youngest child is a varsity in the 10th grade, and that's a big deal according to everybody in this house. And so all of these other things happened in my life because I came here, but I also came here with a positive mindset. I could have been miserable during my time here, but then I would have made everybody else miserable. So I think everything is mindset. But DSD says it, developmental special duty. The goal is to go in there to grow as a leader. And if you don't give yourself that opportunity, then you cheating yourself.
I like it, Chief. You said a lot there. I like it.
I always say a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, jump on that soapbox.
Yes, ma'am. I like it. And a lot of people, you know, hopefully there was some a lot of good nuggets in there. You know, like you said, some people, you know, I'll be honest with you, you know, Chief, when I got vectored to go be an MTI, I was not happy. I was not about that life. And at the time, Chief Ellis and Chief Lindsay, you know, I went back to my AFSC after being a command chief exec, and I was like, this is where I want to be. I'm straight. And they was like, nope, you're going to be an MTI. And I was mad. But like you said, Chief, sometimes opportunity presents itself. And I got down to, you know, Lackland, and that was probably the best thing for me. You know, I like you said, you elevate your game, you become a more, you know, robust leader, and it propelled me in a way that, you know, man, I'm thankful. So you're right, DSD, living proof it does do what it's supposed to do if you get after it the right way. So thank you, Chief. I know you spent some time as a first sergeant. You know, I know you love taking care of your people. So, and as your experience as a first sergeant, can you tell us, you know, some of the struggles and some of the you know, the up points and the down points of being a first sergeant, and also what was your favorite AFSC that you were first?
All right, so I would say the up point of being a first sergeant is I did not have a hard time getting people to trust me, which is beneficial because if they trust you with the little things, they'll trust you with the big things. So if somebody wanted to come and talk to me about goldfish, we were talking about goldfish. It was okay, right? But I think getting people to trust me, so I will say, and Sarah knows this. We had an airman who was deployed. He's a tech sergeant now, and his wife at the time was having a baby, and being so loved that I was able to be there when she was born. I'm about to cry. Be there when she was born. I've never in my life thought that I would be that close to my airmen where I was a part of their family. I never thought that I would be able to do that. When Sarah and I ran a 5K and Jaden was ready to quit and I held that baby's hand and he trusted me. He didn't want to quit. He did want to quit. He wanted to sit right there and we come get him coming back. He absolutely wanted to quit, but being able to be close to the kids of the people that I were taking, like it was absolutely a blessing. So I think having folks, you know, trust me. I think I didn't have a hard time having folks trust me and them listening to my advice, right? So I started off in the med group. I jumped around a whole lot as a first sergeant. I don't know why. I was like, am I getting fired? Is, you know, commanders calling like we're on one, it's not working. But I started off in the med group, which was a smaller unit. And so I made senior, and then they was like, well, we need to send her to a unit, you know, more in size. And so I stayed in the med group for a while and I was able to, you know, do what I could for those airmen, right? What the situation was at the time, nobody understood that particular squadron in the med group at Travis did have a night shift. It was an inpatient squadron. So they worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I was able to build those relationships because I would go home, take a nap, get up at night, go check on them, see what they were doing. And so the downside to that is my husband was like, so listen, I know I said that I want you to be a first sergeant, but you're going to have to find a little bit of balance. And so being able to be a first sergeant the way I wanted to be, but also be a mom and a wife, those were some things. It didn't conflict because my husband, when I tell you he was super supportive of everything that I had to do, it worked out. But I think for me, the upside was being able to be somebody that people trusted and let into their life. The downside of being a first sergeant is when I couldn't fix it. When something would happen and I knew that that person was a good person, I knew they were a good airman, but they did something where it was like, I can't fix this. So what do? You try to get them on the best foot forward as they transition to be a civilian. I couldn't fix everything. So it sucked. That part sucked because I'm like, had we knew this was an issue, were there some things we could intervene on in X, Y, and Z? And so to me, that was the downside. Like I had a ball in every squadron. Again, it's mindset, right? I had a ball in every squadron. I had good times in the med group. They let me put on scrubs and they let me on the floor. I wasn't allowed to touch the patient because I couldn't do that. I wasn't trained to do that, but I was allowed to be there and be in the mix and watch what they do. I went to maintenance, deployed to Afghanistan, got to take care of Guard and Reserve troops. I still talk to my buddies from the Alabama National Guard out of Montgomery. We're still, we still talk, and being able to do that. And then I ended my time with the Safety and Security Forces Squadron. And I still talk to folks from there. They'll call me, if they need me. And anybody know, if you need me, I don't care where I'm at in the world, you let me know, I'll do what I can. And so I had a ball everywhere. But it's, you have to, I guess for me, maybe I'm a chameleon. I can adjust my alpha dogness to whatever unit I'm in. I was all 100%. I could be alpha dog of security forces. So that matched who I was. Like the first day I walked in, I changed offices because I didn't like the office that the old first sergeant sat in, and I wanted a big office, and I got my big office. So it worked. I enjoyed it. The only bad thing I could say is when I couldn't fix it. For me, that would be the downside of being a shirt.
I like it, Chief. I like it. Great perspective. If you ever want to put the Diamondback on, hey, we'd love to take you. Let's go. Next question we got for you, Chief. It's from Chief Brady McCoy. He's out at Kirtland. He asks, Chief, any thoughts on everyone is a leader mindset? I'm not at that page currently and have been asked why I think that I am. Some folks just want to be good followers, and we should allow them to flourish as followers and support that mindset just as much. What's your thoughts on that, Chief?
So I look at it differently. So I think everyone is a leader only in the vein that at some point you got to lead yourself. Everybody shouldn't be in charge or responsible for people. Some people don't have the personality for it. Give those folks a program, they'll take it to the next level. It'll be the best program ever. But everybody should have the ability to lead themselves. And when I say that, I mean, be cognizant of be self-aware of how your behaviors impact other folks. Be able to regulate those behaviors so you're not harming other people because you're making decisions based off of your emotions, right? So everybody is a leader because you should lead yourself, but everybody should not be responsible for other human beings. And sometimes we force that. We put people in a position because of their rank. We don't know much about them, right? Because we're all on some type of big spreadsheet somewhere. And you apply for a job, and because of your rank, you have to be thrust in certain positions. I think some people, if they're aware, hey, I know that I don't want all the smoke that comes with being responsible for other individuals. I would like to opt out of that. Give me a program. I'll make it the best program ever. I am a strategic thinker. I am a person who can elevate certain things. I am not a person who can deal with people and all of the complexities that come with them. And there is nothing wrong with that. It is tough being in a leadership position. It takes a specific type of mindset, level of emotional intelligence, level of emotional currency to be able to lead and lead well. So Chief McCoy, I hear you. Everybody shouldn't be responsible for human beings.
I like it, Chief. I like it. Mm-hmm. Our next question, Chief. What are your thoughts on the difference between the old generation of NCOs or our Air Force compared to the new generation? And not like, hey, old heads versus young heads, but just as your time, as you've seen, develop and progress through the Air Force, what are some of the bigger takeaways from what the Air Force used to be like compared to now, and the quality of airmen from then to now?
So I will say this. I think we need to realize that the airmen coming in now are stronger, smarter, faster. They think differently. They see the world differently. I have a range of people in my house, right? So we have my son, will be 23. My daughter, who just turned 21. I have a 17-year-old. I have a 16-year-old. I have a 27-year-old niece. I have a 31-year-old nephew, right? So I have a range of people in my world where we talk about different things, and just their outlook and perspective on life is just completely different. I think as older folks, we got to get out of our own head sometimes, because for me, because I hate speaking for a group of people, but I will say for me, I've learned that my job is not to make my airmen little tiny glorias all across the globe. My job is to make them the best them, to their capability and ability, the best them that they can be. And you have to respect the experience that they have, although it may not be the same length of life experience. How can it be? They're in their 20s. So I think a little grace and mercy should be applied to life things, because the way the world is set up now, they look at things completely different. And so it's a lot to manage. But what they bring is how they solve problems, how they look at problems. I run around here, and if it's a problem, the house is on fire. My 17-year-old is like, so if you put water here, it'll domino effect and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? But we got to respect how they think. We got to, because they deserve that. And I think we don't give them the benefit of the doubt because they're young. But our job is to pour wisdom and watch them blossom. And maybe course correct, because we have to get them to understand our way of life. We do, because it's not going to work, because you can't come here and do whatever you want to do. Like all the stuff that happened on social media, when you see, the young ladies dancing to whatever trend is happening in their uniform, we want to throw the whole airman away, right? But that's not going to fix it, because if you close to them, right, you have these conversations up front. You have them up front. I have a daughter. I barely post her because she fine, right? And I'm like, my son is over here like, she don't wear enough clothes. And I'm like, well, talk to your sister about that. That don't have nothing to do with me. But do I walk around with a judgmental eye and automatically assume that you can't do because you're not me? That's wrong. I grew up differently, right? I grew up with Biggie and Pac. They growing up with YFN, this person, and Juice WRLD or whoever. It's just different. Not better, not worse. It's just different. And I think as a leader, you be flexible and you adjust, and you deal with every person as they come. You have to meet people where they are to get them where they need to be based on their capabilities and who they are. And it might not look like how it happened for you, but as long as you're a part of making that happen, that's the blessing.
I like it, Chief. I like it. Yeah. So we got to change with the times. We got to evolve with the Air Force.
Got to do it. I don't like it either, but you got to do it.
You hit on a lot of good points too, because that culture of, hey, this is what was done to me, so I'm going to do this to you. And you're right. We have to change that mindset, because what the Air Force was about 20 years ago is not effective now. When you're talking about leading teams and bridging teams, like you said, trainees were a lot smarter than me. They come in with bachelor's and master's degree. I'm like, why aren't you an officer? Why aren't you running a company? And they're just like, they don't understand. They're like, well, I just want to be enlisted. All right, got it. I'll get you to that point. But, they challenged me, Now, granted, the only thing that sucked about it was, when I was referring old movies like Friday and all that stuff.
Never seen it.
You never seen it. So I looked like the old man on the block. So I had to adjust. I'm over at the house Googling, what's we call it, pop fresh. They talk about drip. I'm like, what's drip? Definitely had to up my game in that aspect. Yes, Chief, I like it. We do have to evolve with the times for sure. And then, Chief, this is I know this is an important one to me, because I saw you go through this transition. How does your religion help you lead? When you finally decided to come, put out in the open about it. How did that help you lead? How did that help you change your narrative?
You know what was crazy? I will tell you, I could have worn a hijab a while ago. It was a lot of work to do, and I just didn't feel like it. But anybody that I would have a conversation with about certain things, I would let them know, hey, I'm Muslim. This is how, I grew up. So people closest to me already knew who I was and what my religion was. I decided to wear the hijab for me. And the minute where I was like, I cannot worry about what other people think, how they feel, I can't do that, because spiritually, I needed to be closer and more aligned with God. I believe in God in a way that mattered to me. And so the decision to do it was, my friend actually worked at the uniform board at the time. So she was kind of telling me, hey, things are going to change. when you apply, like it's a one and done, you don't have to worry about every base you go to, you have to redo it and all this other stuff. So the fact that where I was in my life, and what I needed to be a better person. So a better mom, a better leader, a better human. And we, you know, I laugh with some of my folks when I was deployed. I observed Ramadan every year, but normally people do not know when they are not aware. So the first time that I had a conversation, I was deployed to Qatar, and I was like, hey, so Ramadan is coming. These are the things I need. You know, I participated off base. I went to Friday prayer off base, like all these things. So my leadership and everybody needed to know. So my commander shared it with the unit. I need y'all to know, you know, these are the things that's going on in Chief's life. And so we joke because people tell me Ramadan Chief is nicer than not Ramadan Chief. Because when I am fasting, I do not cuss. I don't get angry. You know, there are just, I'm very mellow, when otherwise I'm always on 10. And so what I realized during that time is letting people in was a good thing because I had avoided it for so long. And so the day that I got my hijab waiver and I took a picture at work, baby, somebody screenshot it, honey, and it went to Airman NCO and Senior NCO page. And let me tell you something, my homegirl texted me, she was like, girl, you famous. And I was like, what? And so she sent me, and I'm looking, and I was getting upset at first, but let me tell you something. Airmen, and I mean Airman Big A, from all over the place, I didn't have to say anything. Do you hear me? Y'all came out of nowhere. And I seen all the comments, and I was just like, so what I realized is what mattered to people is what was in my head, not what was on it. That's what mattered to folks. What mattered to folks is how I treated them. And so wearing a hijab didn't change that. And so in that vein, it didn't really affect my leadership because I always treated people like they mattered. I always treated people, you know, like their family. I always cared. Me wearing a hijab made Gloria a better person, which will overall enhance, you know, who I was as a leader. So.
I like it, Chief. Thank you. Thank you for the perspective.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you and I talk a lot, and I would say that you already know, right? I call you my mom, Chief. You are one of my biggest mentors, and you are shirt to my kids. That's what they know you as forever. You brought up already the emotional intelligence part, right? But can you go a little bit more in depth for people who are like, what does that really mean? How do we kind of zone in on that?
Okay, so emotional, and again, I'm not an expert. I just read a whole lot of books, and I love it, right? So your emotional intelligence has a couple of components, right? You have self-awareness, self-regulation. I think self-actualization is one, and it's a fourth one I can't remember. But those things, when you start to work on your intrapersonal skills, understanding how your behavior impacts the people around you, how when others behave a certain way, that there's something else there that you need to hone in on before you come to judgment or before you administer discipline or before you write them off. And so working towards having, because what emotional intelligence is not is touchy-feely. I'm so soft and I need to care about your emotions. You need to care about the emotions that cause the behaviors that you see. And so when you are at a place where you know when you go to work angry and you look around and it's affecting all your workmates, because what we think is that leaders affect attitude. But we can affect other people's attitude just by interaction. If I'm having a bad day, let me tell you something. That job I work in, there are a couple people, and I think they're watching now. I know one probably is for sure. When I am off, he will let me know I am off. And he's an E7, I'm an E9. He has no problem being like, Chief, what's wrong with you? What's going on? He has a high level of emotional intelligence. He's somebody who makes no mistake. If I don't fly off the rails, but if I'm going in on somebody, he will come to me and say, remember X, Y, and Z. Remember to circle back to that person. Don't leave them in that space. That's what high level of emotional intelligence is. If I have to get on you for something, And sometimes you got to use the nice hand, right? To learn that being over there in the 60th Security Force Squadron, sometimes the nice hand is appropriate. What a high level of emotional intelligence does, understand that you have to give the nice hand, but you circle back because you always have to make sure that you close that loop with folks. You never leave them, you cut them with the nice hand and then you leave them out there to bleed. That's unnecessary, right? Or making decisions based off of the fact you can't regulate your own emotions. So I just cuss you out for no reason. That's a part of high level of emotional intelligence, because there's never a reason to go off on people, right? And so one of the pieces of advice I got early was you will have to discipline, but you always leave people with their dignity. Those types of things. That's emotional intelligence, not, holding hands, crying, I'm gonna be your friend. That's not what that is. That is understanding how your crazy can affect somebody else's crazy. Right. And to be able to regulate yourself when you are responsible for making decisions that affect others.
So you brought up the 60th. I got another one for you. All right, when you first got to the 60th, right? Overall, I would say as a culture, as a generation, we have a lot of trust issues between the NCO tier, airman tier connecting, right? And you kind of brought that up already about learn to connect with them. It's okay that the way they act. However, I remember you coming in, right? We were not supposed to go to the shirts office unless we were about to report in blues. That was the culture, and it's no shame on anybody else. It's just the way the cop career field really thinks, unfortunately, right? By the time you left, there was a complete 180, right? People were wearing blues because they were being pushed out for professional development because this is what's happening. Hey, I'm gonna get you to do this. People were wanting to do things. People would go to the shirts office to go get chocolate and sit down on the brown couch, right? Like just because that's what was happening. What would you say were the biggest things that you did to ensure that culture and that trust was there to change that?
I would say I was myself. So I will tell you, and I won't use any names because he's still serving. When I first got there and I walked into the office, two things happened. I walked into the office and the NCO who worked in there would stand up. And I said, you don't have to stand up every time I'm here. He said, let me tell you something first, Sergeant. I'm going to stand up every time you come in here, because if I don't stand up, that airman will see me not stand up and we're going to have a whole nother problem. And so I learned from that, right? And what I saw was the professionalism that security forces had. And so I said, okay. And I put that in the back of my mind. Now, I would go in there and grab what I needed for the day, because I just was like, I could come in here all day. You'd have to stand up. But that was something I noticed. So I said, okay. And so I saw the trust issues right off, because it was another NCO. He was sitting in there and I said, good morning. Hello, First Sergeant. I was like, yeah, what is going on? And he said, well, I don't mean no harm. I don't trust First Sergeant. I said, oh, we're going to be best friends. I said, you just met me. How you don't trust me? You just met me. And towards the end, before he PCS to go on to do what he needed to do, he was one of the people who came to me all the time. Small things, big things. And so when you understand that there is a barrier there, you work overtime to break that barrier. I barely stayed in my office. I went to the gate. I went to the armory. I showed up at night. And I showed up at night one time. And again, I'm not going to say no names. Somebody was in there dipping. What you doing here, sir? I said, what are you doing? And we had the conversation, and I said, listen, I could pop up on you anytime like Jack in the Box. You better be correct when I pop up. This is the first time you ever heard that, right? You ran the armory. I never told you that. I didn't have to, because I took care of it. And so I think the trust came because I was just, in your words, Sarah, normal. I was not there to do anybody in or do them dirty. I wasn't there. We had a young man who had an alcohol problem. He told us that. No shame there. And it wasn't just me. I can't give myself the credit. When I tell you, and I give him a hard time, Colonel Allman, Chief Holland now, and Chief Walker. We didn't always agree, but when I tell you I had a voice, never once was the first sergeant told to sit in the corner and shut up, because this is how we do things here. I had a voice. I was at that table and they listened. And sometimes I got my way and sometimes I didn't. But we all had an understanding that at the end of the day, the job was to take care of those defenders and not to do them harm because we didn't like something. So I give a lot of props to the team that I had, because it was, you know, me and Chief Holland, that's my brother from another mother all day long. And we joke about how, you know, we would have an argument. Chief Walker would kick us out. It's time to go home. We would keep arguing on text. And if he didn't stop arguing with me, I told his wife. And if I didn't stop arguing with him, he told my husband. But that's how close we were. And we're close now. Nobody can tell me nothing about Chief Holland. I'll fight you. Mm-hmm. But we did it as a team. And I didn't fight a whole bunch of stuff. They teach us about the triad in security forces. It's an octagon, because everybody and their mom is in there decisions about stuff. But it's good because it's perspective. It's perspective. It's learning for the ops officer in the room, all of those things. And so I trusted them, the leadership team. They trusted me. And in turn, y'all had to see how close we were. We had family lunch every Thursday. They could have got on my nerves Thursday morning. I don't want to go to lunch with y'all. They like, you a lie. Who car you riding in? That way you can't escape. And so when that leadership team, like, we were tight. And when I didn't like something, I had a voice. And they made sure, and we talked through it. And it was always for the benefit of the 60th. So it wasn't just me. I think it was a combination of me making sure everybody knew who I was, and us together showing you all that we literally were a family for real. And so that's what I think it was that y'all saw that helped. Yeah. You agree? You was there. You seen it.
I do. I want to go back. Take me back.
Hey, Chief, got a quick question for you. For brand new chiefs or whatnot, what advice would you give them?
My first piece of advice: don't refer to yourself as brand new chief no more. A chief's a chief's a chief's a chief. That's one. That's one. Two, I would say, just because we're here at the top enlisted tier, growth is still occurring. Learning will still happen. Continuing to better yourself by reading, having a conversations, watching, looking, asking clarifying questions, and giving yourself grace and mercy. You do not know everything. You shouldn't expect that now I'm a chief, I need to know everything. Nope. They have AFIs for a reason. We read them. We have a network that is crazy. I've been able to reach out to chiefs that I've never physically met. And they like, all right, sis, got you. Or I'm like, okay, bro, got you. And so understanding that you now have a level of influence like never before, that you give yourself that grace and mercy to understand that as humans, we are all continuing to learn, to grow, to experience, and let yourself be reminded that you were selected for a reason. You are here for a reason. Figure out what that reason is and go with that. But you will forever be a chief. So Eric, don't sell yourself short. Don't you let nobody call you baby chief, because people out here who do that mess. Don't you let nobody call you baby chief, because a chief is a chief is a chief. And that was the best advice that I have ever gotten. But give yourself, grace and mercy, because as a human, you will continue to be on a pattern of learning from now until your number's called. So
cool. And tell Spoon to wake up too.
Yeah, doing something up there. I don't know.
I like it, Chief. I like it. The next question, Chief, and this is a tough one. I know, especially in this day and era with COVID and everything going on, how do you keep your mental health healthy? How did you stay ahead of all the stuff that's going on with the world, lockdown, isolation, not traveling? How do you get after it, Chief?
So I'm not the person that just shut social media off or stop watching TV. I want to know what's happening. I'm all over the place. CNN, BBC, the news, Facebook, y'all post stuff, whatever. I'm investigating it. I'm not the type of person that wants to cut the world off, right? But I think it's because I'm EO and the training that I've had and the school that I've gone to, the world as we see it right now is not new to me. It's just exposed in a manner in which we get everything. This is 2021. There is not, everybody is going Facebook Live or Instagram Live or videotaping and uploading. We are in the age of information where everything is instant. So the things that we're seeing, unfortunately to me, and the way I think is not new. I had a breakdown. I did not watch the video of George Floyd's murder. That I couldn't do. But my emotions that came out was because that wasn't new to me. It wasn't new to me. I've had instances where I have anxiety because I am raising Black men and a Black woman. I've had anxiety because people I love are in the categories, they're Muslim and they're emotionally impacted by some of the things that are going on. They're Hispanic, they're emotionally impacted by some of the things that are going on. People that I love who are comfortable enough to share their stories with me were emotionally impacted by the things that are happening. And so I give myself that grace and mercy to be sad, but I cannot live in a world where I am scared to be. And I get involved with my community. I am involved with what's going on in the Air Force, but I am also involved here. My children are involved in change because this is their world. I'm just living in it for now. We're emotionally impacted by the things that are happening. And so is that me? I'm confused. Was that me? I don't know what's happening.
I got you, Chief. I'm sorry. Keep going.
And so for me, I meditate, I pray, but I understand our world has been this way, but I am hopeful. I haven't lost hope. And I truly, honestly believe that our children, the adults in my life that are my niece and my nephew's age, are going to be the ones that make this world a better place. The Civil Rights Act is literally only 50 something years old. It's not that old. My aunt was born and didn't have the right to vote. Like, I'm not so oblivious that I think that we're like the youngest country in all the countries ever, right? Like, I'm not that oblivious to life where I think that these things weren't occurring. I'm not just waking up. I know that these things were happening. And so I have my moment, I own those emotions, and I'm back to doing what I can in my sphere of influence to make that change. So for me, it's different. And I listen. When I have people who call me and they want to get it all out, you get it all out because you deserve that. And let me tell you something, therapy is a real thing. If you are that impacted and you have anxiety, go get help because this stuff is heavy. It is heavy. I get help. I stopped for a little bit. I had a girlfriend the other day tell me, I said, oh, I got a referral for X, Y, and Z. What you need to do is go make the mental health support. I have accountability partners, honey. They tell me the truth all the time, and I'm okay with it. But go get help because this stuff is heavy to deal with. Know that, understand that, and take care of yourself. You have to because you can't keep fighting, right? It's like a boxer. Would you put a boxer in the ring, fight after fight? If they get one fight, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year, but the whole rest of the time they training. So if you are going to continue the good fight, you have to stop and take care of yourself mentally and emotionally, because these things cause anger. and people are angry and don't know what to do with that anger. My advice: go get help because it's important.
I like it, Chief, and that's a tough conversation. Mental health is the key, and you're right. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world, and sometimes it's hard to maneuver and even have these tough conversations because, nobody wants to talk about it until on the news, it's real. No, it's happening.
It's happening.
I think as leaders, it's important to make sure that you're not being naive. So you hit it on the nose. You hit on the nose, Chief. There's a whole bunch of questions coming in. Somebody asked, what was your thoughts on the racial disparity report? The racial disparity report. I know that's a touchy topic, and I know there was a lot of information in there, but Chief, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the truth is, I was like, duh. It wasn't new information to me. But look at my career field. We see what the statistics are.
Yeah.
It wasn't new to me. But I will tell you, a lot of folks, there's a lot at play here, right? So we look at the racial disparity report, there's a lot at play. And what I find folks are not talking about, and somebody gonna get mad, and it's, oh, well, it's Saturday, I'm at my house. What you gonna do? Here's the thing. It's also a mechanism at play where if I am an African-American leader, I treat you poorly because God knows I don't want anybody to think that I'm favoring you. And the problem is we look at that and we look at that disparity report like it's a black and white issue. All of the challenges that some of our young airmen face that are African-American, males, females too, is not because their immediate leadership was white. I had this conversation with my husband, and he said every supervisor that I had that treated me poorly looked like me. People not ready to talk about that though. It has been a all-in approach because of the stereotypes we have that we play into. Because I said it earlier, I am black and female, duh, y'all can see that. If I have black women who are in my unit and they are doing well, I get a phone call. The perception is that you favor so-and-so. I can do one of two things. I know who I am as a leader. Do I treat those black female airmen poorly so other people won't think that I'm favoring them? Or do I go, you can think what you want, because what I favor is the characteristics of that airman, not the physical characteristics, but their grind, their heart, their leadership, their ability to see things and come to problem solve. Those are the things that I favor. But this isn't the first time that somebody has said that to me. So that racial disparity report, we need to dig a little deeper, because it's not just a difference in race that are causing us to kill careers unnecessarily. That's how I think.
Deep stuff, Chief. Like I said, that is a very touchy topic because, the approach, right? How do you approach it? And some people, they will spin it and be like, oh, I had no idea, or that's really happening. And it's, you don't want to come off like, yeah, it's really happening. What rock have you been under? So it's touchy, it's delicate.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be, right? We should be able to just come out and talk about it. But then somebody, they feel some type of way, or they feel like you're attacking them, and knowledge is power. You don't know what you don't know. So
right.
Something that we're working on, and even in my organization, how do you get that knowledge out there without, coming off as the angry black man or black woman or whatever? It's like, hey, no, I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to get you to understand that, the world is going through some trying times, and some people they'll look at you different because you're being real, right?
Yeah.
Talking about that adversity and, well, you're in the Air Force. So you mean to tell me the Air Force is perfect? I mean, on paper, the Air Force is perfect. But it's people, I think, in certain positions that twist and manipulate that fine print, and you end up having those leaders and those people in organizations that push their own agenda. And this is where I feel we have problems in our organization, in our enterprise,
I will say this, right? I say this all the time. Some people think I'm too blue. The Air Force as a system has things in place to make sure we're successful. It's not always advertised, but the knowledge is written down in books and AFIs. How many people have actually read the 51 series, which is the legal series of AFIs, to understand discipline, to be able to fight for yourself? Or if you ever got LOC, you just go to the ADC, because in your mind, they're your lawyers. They're making sure that you don't say anything crazy like in your response. But, when I was in maintenance, we used to have this class at night, and we talked about minor disciplinary infractions. And we talked about, here are the things that could get you completely caught up. Here are the things that you can't. And I was the first sergeant. I would let them ask me, well, what if I had one drink and I drove? I said, okay, you get pulled over. That one drink you had was a Jaeger bomb, right? So we got to be able to talk to folks, because I can't say these kids, it's not kids. These airmen are coming from their life to basic, to tech school, to you. Your job is to teach them what the consequences are up front, right? And to understand, as leaders, maybe Article 15 ain't for everything. So to me, the racial disparity report, I'm like, okay, I'm EO, I got it. But now what? Because are we teaching those who are responsible for making those decisions that there is a better way? There are a lot of ways that you can administratively check somebody to get them on the right track than doing something where they can never bounce back from it. The Air Force hasn't the Air Force hasn't changed that much, where people made it a one mistake Air Force. Now sometimes it's big mistakes. We can't do nothing for you. You got to go. Like, be clear. You got sorry, and then we can do. You got to go. But this shouldn't be a one mistake. It doesn't have to be like that. People made it that way. There's nothing written saying, hey, so you are, you got DUI. We got to bust you upside your head and then keep doing it, right? Like, you do whatever you do in 2013, we're going to just keep bringing it up in 2014. We're going to keep judging you in 2014. For 2015, we're going to keep judging you too, right? I just think that there is a better way. So right now we're in a point where it's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. What do we do? I still think it's a human problem, and a mindset shift, and let's literally sit down and talk about how, if we do this to this individual, how is it going to impact them, and pay attention to trends, right? Because some people have other, people speak up for some people, and people they won't. When I was a tech sergeant, I shared the story. When I was a tech sergeant, I had two airmen, one black male, one white male, and they were joined at the hip. If you didn't know they came from two different places and two different sets of parents, you'd have thought they were twins. They thought alike, they got in trouble alike, they did everything together, these two. And so I was sitting in a room where we had, our flight chief was the old retired guy. And we had my commander, we had my boss, and then me. This is significant because I don't know if commanders are inviting immediate supervisors in there, in the room. This one did. I was in the room. And so you got two levels above these young men speaking on, one was an introvert, one was an extrovert. The introvert was the black guy, the extrovert was the white guy. So he was like, hey, how you doing? He played sports. They knew him. They didn't know the black guy. And so my flight chief, the old guy, he spoke highly of the white guy. But when it came to the black guy, wow, I don't know him, da 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 da. Because of personality. Do you understand? He asked me, as the supervisor, what do you think? I was able to be like, listen, these two, They get in trouble together. Whatever you give them, give it to the both of them. Give it to the both of them, because they both do X, Y, and Z. So I knew them better. Is that something that we need to do? Because a lot of those decisions that are made, that immediate supervisor is not in there. Those immediate supervisors aren't in the room. Maybe they need to be able to speak on their behalf. Because it could have easily been one was treated differently than the other one because of what they looked like. But because I was in there, I knew it was because the white guy was more of an extrovert. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. Very charismatic. The black guy wasn't like that. He was just like, I'm chilling. This is how I am. I'm not talking to no whole bunch of people. But I was in there, so I could speak to them both. And so I look at the report and I look for ways, what can the humans who are responsible for the process do? Because we can't continue to blame our senior Air Force leaders for problems and look to them to solve the problems that are in our control to solve. It is not fair. It's not fair that we put it all on them. What are y'all going to do? What policy are going to write? You cannot policy away people problems, no matter how much you try.
I get you. Again, dropping those nuggets. I'm learning a lot today. I appreciate you. And like I said, it's good to have these conversations and get that perspective out there, get those thoughts out there, because again, if people want to talk about it, you just don't know how. So, it's awesome to have leadership at your level, definitely being able to articulate the conversation, guide the conversation, and put the right, nuggets out there instead of just being like, oh, I'm pissed off all the time. You can be mad, but you can't always show that, because that, when we move out of emotion, that can be detrimental to everything you're trying to do or counterproductive. But moving on, Chief, moving on. Next question. What does it mean to you? What is the meaning for you leading from the front mean? We hear that all the time. People say, hey, lead from the front, keep leading from the front. What does that per se mean to you? Not a punchline, but what does that mean to you?
I think leading from the front means you the one taking the bullets for your team, right? I don't think that means be out front, be the face of, be the the spokesperson of people they go to. I think it means be ready to take bullets for your team. You cover them. Let the bad things hit you so you can filter those to your folks. I think that, to me, that's what leading from the front means to me. I'm the one taking all them bullets, so y'all don't have to.
I like it. Urban leadership at its finest. So this is a big one, Chief. We talk about, I'm a firm believer in, protecting our brand, right? Protecting what you stand for. What does protecting your brand mean to you? What is your brand, and how far are you willing to go to protect it?
So to me, your brand is how you present yourself. So I will tell you, I believe, a lot of people could have a lot of things to say about me, but what they won't say is that I don't have integrity. What they'll never say is I don't take care of my people. They'll say, oh, she got attitude, she mean, that's sometimes, depending on who I'm dealing with and what's happening. And so I think it's the narrative that you want to be out there about yourself. That's what your brand is. What do you want above all else, whether people like you or whether they don't? What do you want that storyline and that narrative to be? Do you want to be somebody who, no matter in what room they're discussing you, that it's like, that person is a real one. I don't always agree with what they say or do, but I tell you what, they stand firm in their convictions. They take care, they take care of their airmen. They get things done. They will ask questions. What do you want that narrative to be? And so to me, that's what your brand is. Your brand is your story. Your brand is who you are, not who you pretend to be. So, and I think you protect it by not letting anybody own your narrative, not letting anybody else tell your story.
I like it, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I like to say, lead from the front and continue to be great. That's my brand. Got to live by it every day. I like it, Chief. Next question. What advice would you give senior NCOs, NCOs, and airmen? I know that's a loaded question and kind of cliche, but I think everybody's advice to those three tiers is different with experience and perspective and just challenges you went through in your career, Chief.
Okay, so airmen, NCOs, and senior NCOs, what advice I would give them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so airmen. Be confident. Give yourself time to learn and understand what your new role is. The Air Force is who you are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not two different versions of yourself. I know people say my personal life and my professional life is the same thing. It's the same thing. Read. If you don't know, I promise you the Air Force probably got an AFI for it. Read and ask questions based off what you read. Take your ACA seriously and think about what you want, whether you're just going to do your time for 4 or 6 years or whether you want to make it a career. Understand that this is an opportunity for you as you grow into your greatness and who you're going to be. NCOs, don't punish your airmen for not being you. And I don't mean punishment by giving them paperwork. I mean punish them by not letting them be them. When you have to correct, never do it in public, do it in private. Take every opportunity to push your airmen and yourself out of your comfort zone. Continue to learn and give yourself grace and mercy because you too are not required to know everything. Senior NCOs, everything I said for the airmen and the NCOs, and NCOs, everything I said for the airmen. And I think this is for everybody, right? So for senior NCOs, you are allowed to get frustrated. You are allowed to get upset. You're allowed to get angry. What you should not do, what you are not allowed to do is have those conversations about your frustration and your anger with your airmen and your NCOs. That is not okay. That's why they have a top 3. Whether you want to be a part of it or not, that's where your peers are. You'll find somebody there that you can connect with, where you can have those conversations with. Do not give that to your airmen and your NCOs, because your job is to lead from the front and take those bullets, not lay all your burdens on their plate and give them your version of what you think could be better, your version of how things suck there. And don't do that, because what you do is you tank them and you skew what maybe their beliefs are. If you have an opportunity to challenge something that you do not like, do not challenge your leadership in public trying to play stump the chump or make them look stupid. That's not how you get what you want. You have way more influence than you realize. And so when you work to build the relationship, maybe work to build a relationship and work to show those above you that you put into work, the thought, the time to make things better. That might look like a bullet paper. That might look like a talking paper. That might look like a presentation. But if you are truly passionate about things changing in the sphere of influence that you are in, sometimes those things look like more than just you telling somebody what's wrong without coming up with a viable solution. Your airmen are watching you. They're watching what you say, they're watching what you do, and they're watching how you behave. Your airmen and your NCOs, they are watching you. You to them look like success, especially if that's where you're trying to go. Be mindful of that in your actions, your words, and your deeds. Make sure your moral compass is always pointed in the right direction. And this is for all 3 tiers. Get you a board of directors. I listened to a podcast. It's going to be a shameless plug. It's the She Speaks podcast, where my friend, Chief Master Sergeant Egan, she's coming out of her shell, dropped some real good knowledge bombs on leadership. And one of the ones was get you a board of directors, get you a group of people who are going to be brutally honest when they need to, who are going to be there to lift you up when they need to, and who are the group of people that you will trust to Grow the way you need to grow to be able to lead the way you need to lead. Because we need you. We need you. I'm getting old. The Air Force needs strong, confident, brave senior NCOs who are going to take the Air Force where it needs to be. And I think that's it.
I like it, Chief. Chief, I wish we could do this all day. We're coming up on that 30-minute mark.
Oh, wow.
I know, hey, time goes by fast when you're having fun, right?
And I got a text about lunch. I'm doing all this, then I still got to make lunch for my family.
So before we close it out, Chief, any final words to anybody watching, or just, obviously this is going to for them to refer back to it. Whatever any parting words.
So I want to start out by saying, Mike, I'm so very, 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 very proud of you. I may not comment on everything, but I see you. I see what you're doing. I see the work you are putting in to pour goodness and speak life into those that you are connected with. Watching you grow from a baby cutting up a little bit in FTech, and I had to act like I was your mama, to seeing you be, the stand-up guy that you are now, to see you being the leader that you are now. It makes me very happy. And I know that Chief Lindsay and Chief Ellis are equally as happy. And you're making us proud. You are going to continue to do amazing things and shape lives and impact lives in a positive manner. And I just wanted to take a minute to say that to you. I didn't know, Sarah and Eric was going to be special guests today, but I do want to tell them, Sarah, I tell Sarah often, I get on her because it seems like we only talk when things going spiraling all the way down to the bottom, but we get it together. Thank you for being here today. I was pleasantly surprised. You are amazing. You are a leader. You continue to be strong. Don't you ever, 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 ever let nobody shut you up. The leader you are is the leader that is needed and necessary. And Eric.
Thank you, Chief.
Man, Eric go right back the turkey. He know what this thing glow. I didn't expect you to be here. I am proud of you. And me and Rodney talk all the time, like when you went to go be a recruiter and then all of a sudden, like I was like, did he want to be a recruiter? I don't know, but he out there murdering it. And so Eric, I watched from a distance. I'm so very proud of you. I was excited to see you make Chief because I remember us being NCOs together. And I know that the top 1% is a lot better for having you in it. We got a little swag with this last list that came out. And I think our airmen are, any group of airmen that you end up being responsible for taking care of will flourish under your leadership, and you are going to continue to do amazing. So thank y'all for being here with me today, and everybody who watched and listened and asked questions. Thank you. I appreciate that. This was supposed to be a 5 or 10 minute video of me talking to myself, but Mike decided that it was better for us two to talk, and I appreciate that. So thanks for listening to me. Hopefully I gave you something to chew on, something to grow on, and you walk away from this conversation better than you were when you walked into it.
And Chief, I just want to say on every member in the Let's Talk About Growth page, we appreciate you and thank you for taking the time to come talk to all of us and connect us and go down memory lane. I'm very grateful for your mentorship over the years, and I do remember you being my FTech instructor, and I didn't know jack about Jack, and now I look at our bond, our friendship, our professionally and personally relationship, and I'm thankful that there are leaders like you still in the Air Force leading from the front and giving that goodness and that greatness to people, because some people, they're not always giving those nuggets. It's like you got to pull it out of them. So I really appreciate you being, a beacon for many of us to follow and emulate. So again, on the behalf of everybody, Let's Talk About Growth page, we are thankful for you today, and thank you for being our guest speaker, and thank you for taking the time with us today.
Thank you.
All right. Peace out.